ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams in the power, it's an unstoppable.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Saturday Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's see who is all in here. Everybody hit that like button. I see you, Nessie X, Most Hated, Bronze, Flat Power God, Juju is in the house, Lillian X, Claudette, All Hell Nah is here, Desmond, Pearly. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. Shout out to all of my loyal royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators putting in work. Okay, so before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes oil for your hair at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's get into it, honey, because we have a Trump session going on. Okay, please pay attention. Trump has us looking bad out here in the streets. Okay, why is this man begging Denmark for eggs? Trump is out here begging for eggs, y'all. Please pay attention. So we're going to talk about it. But first, let's get into some of the latest updates. Okay, everyone hit that like button. Let's get into some of the latest updates. First of all, Now, a speech at the Department of Justice on Friday turned into a tirade as U.S. President Donald Trump used the occasion to attack the media while also vowing to expose his perceived enemies and to overhaul the department that launched 2 federal investigations into him. Now, Trump is the first convicted criminal elected U.S. president, by the way, in case you missed it. Okay, but meanwhile, the Danish Egg Association says that the United States has asked it and producers in other countries if it could export eggs as prices surge despite Trump's promise to lower them. Trump's administration has also pressured Columbia University in response to what government officials said was the Ivy League school's poor response to anti-Semitism on campus. Okay, the administration is demanding Columbia University make widespread changes to restore funding. So these are just some of the shenanigans Trump has going on. Okay, Trump considers sweeping travel restrictions for dozens of countries. Okay, so the Trump administration is considering issuing sweeping travel restrictions for dozens of countries as part of a new ban. Okay, citing an internal memo and sources familiar with the matter. Okay, so the memo lists 41 countries divided into 3 groups: those with full visa suspensions, those with partial suspensions, and a third group that will be considered for partial visa suspensions if their governments do not address issues within 60 days. Now, the first group has 10 countries, including Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, Cuba, and North Korea. The second group has 5 nations: Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, and South Sudan. The partial suspension would affect tourist visas, student visas, and immigrant visas. And not to mention, the Democrats are very upset with Chuck Schumer, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Now, an appeals court on Friday lifted a block on executive orders seeking to end government support for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Okay, so the ruling from a 3-judge appeals court panel allows President Donald Trump's orders to be enforced while a lawsuit challenging them is heard. Now, on the first day of his second term in office, Trump signed an order telling federal agencies to end all equity-related grants or contracts. A later order required federal contractors to certify that they do not promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, 2 of the judges on the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals wrote that Trump's anti-DEI push could raise legal concerns, but added that the lower court sweeping block went way too far. Saying my vote should not be understood as agreement with the order's attack on efforts to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is what Judge Pamela Harris wrote. 2 of the panel's members were appointed by President Barack Obama, while the third was appointed by Trump. Okay, now, like I said, these are just some of the things that Trump has going on. So that all being said, let's get into this bill that was passed. No, you know what? First of all, let's talk about what's going on with the Danish. Okay, because Trump wants Greenland. Okay, he wants to annex Greenland, which means basically take over their sovereignty. Okay, and just take full control. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen snapped back at Donald Trump's recent comments suggesting that Greenland's latest election results are good for the United States' interest, saying that it's a misinterpretation for the Greenlandic election to conclude that we'll have an independent Greenland tomorrow, flying a white flag that can then be painted with stars and stripes. This is what he said on an interview, the other day, actually on Friday. Now, the center-right Democrats defeated the governing left-wing coalition in Greenland's Tuesday election, while a pro-U.S. party recorded its best result ever. Now, the Democratic Party, which describes itself as pro-business, more than tripled its result from the previous election in 2021, garnering up to 30% of the vote. The party supports Greenland's independence, but only gradually. Now, Trump made the comments during a meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Thursday, adding that the winning party's leader, Jens Frederik Nielsen, is a very good person. Trump repeated the sentiment that annexing Greenland will happen. Okay, so I just want you all to pay attention. Y'all don't think this is going to be, y'all don't think this is going to cause a war, all the stuff that Trump's doing. I can't comprehend how this is even being entertained, let alone tolerated. Okay, exactly. Trump's lost his mind clearly. Okay, he has clearly lost his mind. But let's go to his DOJ speech. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, we're going to go to where he was talking about the annexation of Greenland first. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Everyone hit that like button. Thank you in advance.
Vision for the potential annexation of Greenland and getting them potentially.
Well, I think it'll happen, and I'm just thinking, I didn't give it much thought before, but I'm sitting with a man that could be very instrumental. You know, Mark, we need that for international security, not just security, international. We have a lot of our favorite players, cruising around the coast, and we have to be careful. And we'll be talking to you. It's a very appropriate, really a very appropriate question.
And it's an issue in the high north, so the Arctic. So what you did, so when it comes to Greenland, yes or not joining the US, I would leave that outside for me, this discussion, because I don't want to drag NATO in that. But when it comes to the high north and the Arctic, you are totally right. The Chinese are now using these routes. We know that the Russians are rearming. We know we have a lack of icebreakers. So the fact that the outside Russia, there are 7 Arctic countries working together on this under US leadership is very important to make sure that that region, that part of the world stays safe. And we know things are changing there and we have to be there.
Well, we just had an election there the other day. Do you see a referendum, a plebiscite where the people of Greenland would be in a position to decide if they want to become part of the United States?
Yeah, it was a good election for us, as you know. It was not a referendum. It wouldn't be called that. It was an individual election. But the person that did the best is a very good person, as far as we're concerned. And so we'll be talking about it, and it's very important. Mark mentioned the word icebreaker. So we've ordered, we're in the process of ordering 48 icebreakers. And Canada wants to know if they could use them. I said, well, you got to pay for them. Think of it, Canada. We pay for their military. Canada pays very little for their military because they think we're going to protect them. But even with the icebreakers, so we're going to order 48, and Canada wants to be part of the deal. I say, you got to get your own icebreakers. Then if you're a state, you can be part of the deal. But if you're a separate country, you got to get your own icebreakers. Russia, as you know, has about 40 of them. And we have one big icebreaker, but that whole area is becoming very important. And for a lot of reasons, the routes are, very direct to Asia, to Russia, and you have ships all over the place. And we have to have protection. So we're going to have to make a deal on that. And Denmark is not able to do that. Denmark's very far away and really has nothing to do. What happens? A boat landed there 200 years ago or something, and they say they have rights to it. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it is, actually. But we've been dealing with Denmark. We've been dealing with Greenland, and we have to do it. We really need it for national security. I think that's why NATO might have to get involved in a way, because we really need Greenland for national security. It's very important. We have a couple of bases on Greenland already, and we have quite a few soldiers, and maybe you'll see more and more soldiers go there. I don't know. What do you think about that, Pete? So don't answer that, Pete.
I'm convinced that Trump wants to, in fact, take over the whole world. Okay, he wants to annex Greenland. Okay, he wants Canada to become one of the United States, part of the United States. He wants to purchase the Gaza Strip. Trump is out of his darn mind, okay? Trump is out of his mind. Please pay attention. Let me pull up this next clip.
Should for a simple garage door repair? What could have and should have been a simple 300.
And the shores of Greenland, This remote island in the Arctic has a problem now.
We need Greenland for national security. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Geographically part of North America, Greenland has close ties to the United States. But politically, it's part of Europe, as a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. This wasn't an issue before. The U.S. and Denmark are NATO allies and have long cooperated on the island, until now.
Donald Trump refused to rule out using military force to take control of the island.
Denmark's prime minister has been racing across the continent, trying to shore up support from allies.
What does Trump's longing for Greenland mean for its people?
Do you want Greenland to be bought?
No, not at all.
Why is this island in the far north suddenly so important?
You can think of Greenland as this giant aircraft carrier sitting in an amazing position.
Only 57,000 people live in Greenland, which is the world's biggest island. Greenland's towns and settlements are scattered along the coast, including the capital, Nuuk.
Okay, I think we've seen enough. I don't know why Trump wants to annex Greenland at the end of the day. He just sounds crazy. Like I said, 100 BlackRock said, Queen, Ukraine is creating a ski resort. Interesting. Yeah, and at the U.S.'s expense. Okay. Interesting that Biden had to send them all of those $100 billion, and now they're creating a resort. Okay. I find it also interesting. Well, we have people over here homeless on the streets and begging for eggs. Let's talk about it. And thank you, beloved, for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings to you. Now let's talk about it, because how many eggs can you send? This is what the U.S. as countries to help lower soaring prices. Okay, I find it also interesting, honey. We out here begging for eggs, Trump. This is where you have us. TS, one thing, if Denmark and Greenland mutually agree to be ran by the USA, but annexing implies force, that is war. That's what I'm saying. Trump is going to start a war. These people don't want to be a part of the United States. They already said that they're not going to paint their flag white and then they're not going to come out there with a white flag and allow it to be painted with stars and stripes. They said they absolutely do not want to be a part of the United States. The Trump has lost his mind. I mean, he's just out here doing the absolute most. That's what he's doing. Hold on. Let me pull this up real quick. Greenland Prime Minister responds to Trump. We don't want to be Americans. Okay, Greenland's leaders still reminding Trump they will not be taken. Prime Minister of Greenland, Mute Baruch Igidi, I know I'm not saying his name right, responded to Trump's speech Tuesday evening, in which he said that one way or the other, the United States will acquire Greenland, by reiterating that Greenland is not for sale. Okay, he responded to Trump saying that they're going to get it one way or another by saying they're not for sale and they're not going to be taken. Okay, so Kalait Nunat is ours. This is what he said in a post on social media, saying, we don't want to be Americans. Americans and their leader need to understand this. We're not for sale and can't just be taken. Our future is decided by us in Greenland. Okay, they're not playing games with Trump. Now, we need Greenland for national security and even international security. This is what Trump was saying. And we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it one way or another. We're going to get it. Trump, please sit down somewhere. Y'all heard him saying it. And so anyway, Trump has sought to exploit the growing movement for independence in Greenland by claiming Greenlanders want to become a part of the United States. This is what he said. He's speaking for him. Now, y'all just saw the people that they were talking to, asking them if they wanted to be a part of the United States, and the people said no. Okay, this is not reflected by Baruch Igidi, who has repeatedly said that Greenlanders want to be independent, not part of the U.S. or Denmark, and told Trump in December of last year, Greenland is ours. We are not for sale and will never be for sale. Okay, Danish member of Parliament Anders Wittesen was more blunt, telling Trump, Greenland is not for sale. F off. That's what he told him. He said F off. Okay, these people are like just sick of him. Really? Now, let's get back into these eggs because we're in the midst of a Trump session. Okay. And TC Dan, thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. All Hell No said, I need him to refill his prescriptions expeditiously. Okay. So anyway, Just Anticipate said, what's wrong with America's eggs? Well, they're too high for one. And then they're being affected by the bird flu. Okay, so here's what they said. The United States has reached out to Denmark and other European nations asking if they can export eggs as Americans face surging egg prices. The Nordic Countries Egg Association gave this information on yesterday. Now, the request from the U.S. Department of Agriculture coincides with a raft of new U.S. tariffs on countries, including in Europe, and the threat of more. President Donald Trump has also threatened economic sanctions unless Denmark hands over control of Greenland to the United States. So he's out here threatening sanctions on people to get what he wants. This is all crazy as hell. Please pay attention. Okay, and then, of course, you heard the man say that they don't want to even have to get NATO involved. Okay, they don't want any problems with NATO. So U.S. wholesale egg prices are shattering records as an accelerating outbreak of bird flu is laying hens slashes supplies. Okay, Trump promised to lower egg prices on his first day in office, but prices increased 59% on a year-on-year basis in February. Okay, the first full month of his administration. A letter reviewed by Reuters showed how a representative of U.S. Department of Agriculture in Europe had sent formal inquiries to egg-producing countries in late February, seeking information on their ability and willingness to export eggs to the American market. So we're out here begging for eggs. Okay. This is what we're out here doing, but Trump wants to take over the world. Yeah, I don't think so. We're still waiting to get more guidance from Washington on the next steps. But do you have an estimate of the number of eggs that could be supplied to the United States, assuming they meet all of the important requirements? A follow-up letter to Danish Egg Association in early March gave this information. They say Washington is trying to get an estimate of the amount they could feasibly source. Now, the Danish Egg Association said they would look into it, but there is no surplus of eggs in Europe. This is sad, okay? This is really sad, family. Pay attention. There is a shortage of eggs everywhere on a global scale because consumption is increasing and many are affected by bird flu, he added. Now, the spokesperson said they had requested more details on the conditions of such an agreement, highlighting that egg exports to the U.S. were challenging due to regulations related to hygiene and other factors. Turkey said in February that it had started exporting around 15,000 tons of eggs to the United States. U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins last month announced the plan to seek imported eggs as part of a $1 billion effort to combat the bird flu. The U.S. Embassy in Copenhagen did not immediately reply to requests for comments. Reuters has also requested comment from the Department of Agriculture. Okay. So, hold on, that's a good one. Okay, Miss Eva said Trump is egg-splaining with foolishness. Oh my goodness, you are something else, okay? You all are something else. Okay, so let's go to them being all upset about this bill that Schumer passed. Hold on. Because Nancy Pelosi went in on Schumer. Okay, he's basically sold out his own party. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, they are livid because this benefits Trump. Okay, here we go.
ABC's Vaughn Hilliard, who's posted up near the White House. We want to start, though, on Capitol Hill with Sahil. Sahil, if you will, walk us through what's happening in the Senate right now when it comes to this vote and keeping the government open.
Hey, Yasmin. Well, just in the last few seconds, within the last minute or so, the Senate gavelled out this key vote on this House 6-month bill to keep the government open, avert a shutdown at midnight tonight. The vote was 62 to 38. 62 to 38, which means it has enough votes. It has the 60 votes it needs to break a filibuster. What comes next is 4 amendments, all of which are expected to fail. This is part of a time agreement that was negotiated. And then final passage of the bill needs a simple majority. This bill is headed to President Trump's desk. It is not what most Democrats wanted. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer cobbled together just enough votes to help Republicans break a filibuster. He argued that the worst possible option would be a government shutdown, even though Democrats strongly objected to many of the provisions in this bill. They noted they weren't at the table to negotiate it. This was negotiated and written between Speaker Johnson and the White House. And I'm going to name you the 10 Democrats who provided those crucial votes. Senators Cortez Masto, Durbin, Fetterman, Gillibrand, Hassan, King, Peters, Schatz, Schumer, and Shaheen. Several of them are in Schumer's leadership team. Several of them are retiring at the end of session and don't have to face voters. In other words, don't have to deal with the immense amount of voter anger from Democrats who urge them to kill this bill.
You used the word anger, Sahil. I think it's an important word because obviously you've got a lot of Democrats that are certainly angry with Chuck Schumer right about now and supporting not only Republicans, but ultimately the president and getting this bill across the finish line, not calling for him essentially to step aside. How serious are these efforts this hour?
I think we're going to find out. We don't know how serious they are in the Senate in particular, because there are at least some Democrats who were in the vote no, hope yes category. They didn't want the shutdown, but they also didn't want to be on record supporting this bill that a lot of their base and a lot of voters despise and wanted them to kill. So the question is, does that immense amount of anger that we've seen directed at Chuck Schumer from House Democrats, from outside prominent Democrats, and from liberal activists, does that convert to anger within the Senate of Democratic senators as well? Because this is their decision whether to keep Schumer as their leader. Suffice it to say, this is the worst position I've seen Chuck Schumer in his 8 years at the helm of the Senate Democratic Conference.
Okay, so he's pissed them all off. They're very upset. But at the end of the day, the question is, did we really need a government shutdown? I don't think so. Okay, let's go to this next report. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Because Chuck Schumer says that he knew he was going to be criticized for doing this, but he wants to be on the right side of history and thinks that he, in fact, did the right thing. And he says time will show that.
Democrats are split over how they will vote on the Republican plan to keep the government funded, though on Elon Musk and Donald Trump's terms. Trump's budget director, and this is key, is already reportedly preparing to ignore the spending appropriated in the bill. Some Democrats have said they will not support the plan, even if it means a government shutdown. But Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer of New York says he will support the vote basically to get the bill in a position to pass and to keep the government open.
For sure, the Republican bill is a terrible option. It is not a clean CR. It is deeply partisan. It doesn't address far too many of this country's needs. But I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
And Senator Chuck Schumer joins me now. Senator, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's just start on this. I think there are a lot of people watching this right now who are confused about this decision, or upset by it. So just spell out, just give me your logic, particularly on this sort of on the one hand, on the other. What is the cost you see to the constitutional order of a shutdown that isn't already being done now?
It's a dramatic cost. Here's why, Chris. Under a shutdown, it is the executive branch, in this case, Trump, Musk, DOGE, and Vogt, who's head of the OMB, who we all know are authoritarians, vicious, nasty, who would have sole control over what is funded and what isn't. They get to determine what is a, quote, essential service. And they will just cut to smithereens, far greater than in the CR bill, which is a lousy bill, far greater than that, what could be funded and what couldn't. And there's no recourse. You can't go to court. This is a decision totally in the executive branch. And so it would be devastating. Why is it that Elon Musk and Donald Trump want a government shutdown? So they can take control of the government and do their vicious, horrible things. They could cut half the government. They could tell employees you're not essential and never bring them back, permanently firing them. It's a disaster. And in a few weeks, if there was a shutdown, everyone would be complaining and howling. Why did they cut? Why did they eliminate SNAP? Why did they cut so much of Medicaid? But they could do all that on their own. That's the problem. There is no check on them with a shutdown. That's not to say this CR bill is a good bill. It isn't. It didn't have any safeguards in it. But it would be much, much worse to have a shutdown. And my job, Chris, as leader, is to see things a little bit ahead down the road and see how horrible this would be and alert people to it.
So I want to sort of present two arguments on the other side. One of them is that it was quite, and I hear you on this. This is not an easy call. I want to be clear. I mean, I don't think it is, but the AFG union, which is the largest union representing federal workers, they won a big victory today in federal court about those probationary employees who were fired. They came out against the CR, which really surprised me, right? These are the people that seem to have the most skin in the game on precisely the terms you're enunciating. And they said, the fact that this CR has no protections that will actually be followed means that we can't support it. If the people whose livelihoods are on the line say you cannot go along with this thing, why are they wrong?
I understand why they're so upset with the CR, but I disagree with them because the shutdown would be worse for their employees. They could just eliminate huge portions of government workers automatically. They could eliminate programs automatically, which they can't do on the CR. The CR has certain spending and they can screw around with it, and they will. These guys are sons of guns. They're going to do everything they can to hurt the government. You know what they've talked about. Elon Musk, this billionaire who cares nothing about taking people's Social Security away. This guy says that he wants to cut $2 trillion out of the federal government. A shutdown would allow him to do it. And here's another point, Chris. There's no exit ramp. Anyone who wants the shutdown, I've asked them, well, how do we get out of it? Guess who it's up to get out of it? Donald Trump, Elon Musk, DOGE. So it's it's two bad alternatives. And I respect people who actually don't want it, vote for the CR. It's awful. But with the alternative being a government shutdown, that's even worse.
So here's the other sort of way that I've heard people phrase this, right? Democrats don't control any part of the government. Right. So there's not a ton of leverage. The one thing they have leverage is in the Senate, where you need a filibuster-proof majority on a cloture vote. That there's essentially an unconstitutional assault on the government right now. And I think you would agree with that,
there
right?
Is.
An assault on the constitutional
These guys are the worst, and we got to fight them every step of the way. As we say in Brooklyn, Chris, every step of the way.
But look, Russ Vought is already telling people, but he's telling people on the floor, we are not even going to listen to this CR. This is a piece of paper that we will impound and rip up the moment it's passed. If that's the case, how is voting for cloture not essentially an imprimatur on the very same assault on the constitutional order?
They're already, even without this CR, they're already doing it.
Right.
Okay. They did it to the Department of Education. But I can tell you, I've been through shutdowns before. It's not that this CR is good. It's not that voting for it is good. It's horrible. But the alternative is worse. And we have to look just a month ahead and see how bad a shutdown would be for all the things we believe in, and how I'd say Trump and DOGE and Musk and Vote, they're like drooling with happiness and desire to get a government.
At the end of the day, he's trying to justify his own bullshit, okay? But let's go to Hakeem Jeffries, who clearly was not thrilled about Schumer's decision. Okay, likes up, everyone, please, to like and share.
It sounds like this message was sent to the Senate, received, and then they decided yesterday, for whatever reason, maybe they didn't have the votes, Leader Schumer decided to walk away from that and go with the GOP plan. There are some colleagues of yours here in the House that feel betrayed. Is that what you're feeling right now?
Vote hasn't happened. There are undecided and undeclared Democratic senators who are evaluating what is the right thing to do for the American people. We've made that decision as House Democrats, and we're going to stick by that decision because we believe we are on the side of the American people.
Mr. Leader, House Democrats.
Leader Jeffries, when it comes to FY26, looking to September, some Democrats have expressed concerns that seeing how the process had played out this week will set a tone for the upcoming fiscal year. Do you share those concerns, and what have you learned from this process for the next fiscal year?
Our general view is that we do not want to shut down the government, but we are not afraid of a government funding showdown. And we will win that showdown because we stand on the side of the American people.
What's the difference between a shutdown and a showdown, Gio?
Next question.
To follow up, though, you talk about the problem with saying, oh, this isn't just one individual, but still, doesn't this still send a message to Americans, the fact that it's the leader of the Senate, Democrats, who has already said he's making this decision, and you already have 66 of your House colleagues sending him a letter saying that they're not approving of this?
When I travel the country, the American people are concerned about if their kids get sick, can they go see a doctor? And we have a problem with the fact that Republicans are cutting health care in this partisan spending bill. There are veterans in this country who want to know that after serving this country, sacrificing, putting their lives on the line, that their country will be there for them in the way that they were there for America. There are mothers and fathers who are struggling to make ends meet. They are working hard. They're playing by the rules. But they're not sure whether they can put food on the table day to day, week to week, month to month. And the Republicans in this bill, just like they're cutting veterans' benefits, are cutting nutritional assistance to children and families. That's what we have a problem with. The Republicans are hurting the American people. That's why House Democrats are strongly opposed to this bill.
Leader Jeffries, your Senator Chuck Schumer is from your state. He clearly has a different view of this than you. He is not saying let's go back to the negotiating table. He's saying let's take this vote. So have you lost confidence in him, the fact that you guys see this so differently?
Next question.
Leader Jeffries, I want to go back to my colleagues.
Data brokers are selling.
Jeffries is so annoyed and pissed off that he literally said next question when they asked him about Schumer. He refused to even answer. He's not trying to hear it. And let's go to what AOC had to say about it, because all of these people have turned on him. He's going to be out of there real soon.
So on social media, you've been urging people to call their senators, tell them to vote no on cloture, which allows the bill to go forward for a vote of just a simple majority, and to vote no on the vote for a simple majority on the Republican bill. What do you say to the counter argument of like a government shutdown hurts the country, hurts the people you represent from Queens and the Bronx?
Absolutely. And that is why House Democrats have laid out a plan, as well as several Senate Democrats laid out a plan to keep government open for another 30 days as Republicans negotiate a deal with Democrats in order to have an extended government funding bill.
But the House would have to come back into session, right?
But House Democrats are in town. We're afraid of working? Is that the problem here? That the idea that, God forbid, members of Congress have to fly back and do their jobs? Okay. Genuinely, come on.
So Chuck Schumer, I guess the Senate Democratic leader, your senator, said at this meeting that he is going to vote for cloture. He is going to vote to allow there to be a simple majority vote. You think that's wrong?
I believe that's a tremendous mistake. Yes.
Why?
I think, well, first and foremost, the American people, if anyone has held a town hall or has seen what has been happening in town halls, American people, whether they are Republicans, independents, Democrats, are up in arms about Elon Musk and the actual gutting of federal agencies across the board. This continuing resolution codifies much of this chaos that Elon Musk is wreaking havoc on the federal government. It codifies many of those changes. It sacrifices and completely eliminates congressional authority in order to review these impulsive Trump tariffs that he's switching on and off. And on top of that, for folks who are concerned about effectiveness in government, this Republican extreme spending bill removes all of the guardrails and all of the accountability measures to ensure that money is being spent in the way that Congress has directed for it to be spent. This turns the federal government into a slush fund for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It sacrifices congressional authority, and it is deeply partisan. And so to me, it is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid, and protect Medicare.
You have expressed opposition to government shutdowns in the past. Here's your very first speech on the House floor.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want. It is not normal for public servants to run away and hide from the public that they serve. And it is certainly not normal to starve the people we serve for a proposal that is wildly unpopular among the American people.
Now, I get that you hate this continuing resolution. You don't think it's a good bill, but the alternative is likely a government shutdown.
Well, the alternative is to agree on a 30-day stopgap to keep government open as negotiated. The proposal is in front of the House. The proposal is on the Senate. Republicans had time to seek Democratic votes, and we can extend that time for them to seek that vote. Once again, we can come back. We can fly back. We can vote on this. We can get a stopgap measure, extend the amount of time to negotiate while we figure out a solution here for the American people. And I also agree, again, I maintain that position that government shutdowns, we can keep the government open with a 30-day clean CR. And on top of that, I also maintain the position that government officials and public servants should not be hiding from the public the way that Republicans are hiding and being instructed to not host town halls right now because of the outrage among the American public around their attempts to cut Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare.
My understanding is that your other senator, another Democrat, Kirsten Gillibrand, also thinks that the Democrats should vote to go forward with the spending bill, unlike Senator Tim Kaine that we just heard from. And my guess is, I don't speak for either Schumer or Gillibrand, but my guess would be if they were here, they'd say, you're being naive. It's really just a choice between voting for a government shutdown or voting not for a government shutdown. People aren't going to come back. It just doesn't happen that way. Again, that's not me. I imagine that that's what they would say to you.
I mean, I understand that Senate Democrats think that it is beyond wildest convention for us to come back, but House Democrats have done that before. The House has reconvened in emergency sessions before. I've certainly voted on the floor of Congress they've even called us back from August recess before. This idea that it is beyond the scope of imagination for us to come back from vacation is just not an acceptable answer for the American public.
I want to play something that President Trump said earlier today. Take a listen.
If it's shut down, it's only going to be, if there's a shutdown, it's only because of the Democrats, and they would really be taking away a lot from our country and from the people of our country.
Your colleagues, House Republicans, are already using the term Schumer shutdown, which has that nice alliterative style. Are you not worried at all about Democrats taking the heat for the shutdown?
We know, and the American people are not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes. Everybody knows that Donald Trump is president, that Republicans have the Senate, and Republicans have the House. They have the keys to the entire United States government. And if Republicans wanted to avert a shutdown, they can. They can, if they need Democratic votes, then they can negotiate with Democrats to get those votes. It is simple. They have two options, to pass it with their votes or to pass it with Democratic votes. And we also see the data bearing this out. When you look at public polling from very reputable firms, we see that the American people understand that, and they know that the party in charge of government is the party that's in charge of keeping government open.
What do you think of the job?
It comes in so many different colors. Christmas, Halloween, Easter.
Democratic leaders are doing, not just Senate Democratic leaders, but also Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, your fellow New Yorker, in terms of standing up to Trump?
Well, when we look at this vote around this government funding bill that we saw this week, Leader Hakeem Jeffries was able to keep the entire House Democratic caucus united and together.
Except for Jared Golden.
Right.
Except
Every single House Democrat, including every single House Democrat who won a Trump district, except for one out of over 200, voted against this deeply partisan, extreme Republican spending bill. Not just because they're Democrats, but because they know it's bad for the country. This bill is bad for the country. And so I think that in terms of Democratic leadership in the House, we've seen that result in the House. I think it's time that we see similar results in the Senate.
Would you, what do you think of the job that Chuck Schumer is doing? Would you ever challenge him, do you think?
I think that what we need right now is a united Senate Democratic caucus that can stand up for this country and not vote for cloture and not vote for this bill. And I think that the strength that we have is in this moment. Reconciliation and all of these, Republicans do not need Democratic votes for that. They need it for this. And so the strength of our leadership in this moment is going to demonstrate the strength of our caucus. And I cannot urge enough how bad of an idea it is to empower and enable Donald Trump and Elon Musk in this moment. It is dangerous and it is reckless.
Well, you just talked about the strength of your leadership. Chuck Schumer just said that he's going to vote for cloture. Not only the Democrats can do it, but he's going to participate in it. Does that mean that you think he's a weak Senate leader?
I think that that would be a mistake. But we have time between now and tomorrow, and I hope that individuals that are considering that reconsider it. I genuinely do. I don't think it's what New Yorkers want. I don't think it's what the country wants. This is genuinely not about Democrats or Republicans. This is about deep cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. This is about the evisceration of the federal government. This is about codifying the looting that is happening at the behest of Elon Musk in order to pay for his tax breaks for billionaires. And we have a responsibility to stand up for it. That is why people elected us, and that is our responsibility to them right now.
At the end of the day, the whole thing's a darn mess, okay? And now the Dems are pushing her to primary Schumer, okay, because they want him out of there. Canada has decided they're not going to any longer support the U.S., okay? They've cut us off, and all thanks to Trump. Okay, and then here's the thing. They said that they're urging the Republicans not to hold town halls. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're urging them not to hold town halls? Okay, specifically after they've talked about cutting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. Why do you think they don't want them to have town halls? Because they don't want them to end up like the United Healthcare CEO. That's why. Okay, please pay attention. This is all so crazy.
Running really deep in Canada. I've since learned that from all my Canadian family and friends. But it's deeper than anything I ever recall in terms of disputes between Canada and the United States, which, by the way, have been going on since the creation of Canada. There's always been disputes.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. I'd say I've never seen my country like this ever before. Canadians have been galvanized. The level of attachment to Canada, even in places like Quebec, which has variously at times tried to secede from Canada, the attachment to Canada there is well over 80%. Right. We've never seen anything like that. Right. But it's born out of a sense of anger and betrayal. Yep. And that is the motivating factor in Canada right now. We've been punched in the nose by our very best friend, and we're trying to figure out why.
Any answer to the why?
Initially, Donald Trump said it was because of the border and fentanyl. Now, on those issues, we have no disagreement with Donald Trump. Every border should be secure, and fentanyl, if we had a magic wand, would disappear from the face of the planet tomorrow. Right. The problems on the Canadian border, however, are minuscule. Doesn't mean we shouldn't attack it. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do something. We stepped up with over $1 billion to help essentially CBP take care of the problem on the American side. You see, the issue is we have fentanyl coming from the United States into Canada. Right. We also have illegal immigrants coming from the United States into Canada. And of course, vice versa. This is a problem that both countries have to work on. This is not a Canada problem. Right. This is a Canada-United States problem. Everything can always be made better.
The punch in the face thing is interesting because it's not just the trade, it's this territorial discussion. Yep. This idea. Let me tell you what President Trump said on Thursday at the White House. He said, Canada only works as a state. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anywhere. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything. Now, there will be a little disruption, but it won't be for very long. But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry. End quote.
Okay, so Trump said we don't need Canada for anything? I beg to differ. This is why you know he's crazy, okay? Let's keep listening.
I'm glad he said he was sorry. Yeah. Look, facts matter in a case like this. Let's take aluminum. The United States produces 14% of its aluminum use. Where are they getting the rest of it? Well, they're getting 60% from Canada. I kind of...
Yeah, and that's the thing. Trump sounds real crazy, okay? Because they get a variety of goods from there, including energy, crude oil, natural gas, vehicle parts, vehicles, machinery, lumber, all kinds of stuff, okay? Electricity. What is he talking about? We don't need them. Trump is making unnecessary enemies is what he's doing, and he's going to lead us right into World War III. I keep telling y'all, okay, he's just doing the most. Pissing off our allies, okay? Just doing and acting like he doesn't need these people. And then when you knew he was crazy and unhinged is when he said something about a 200% tax or a 200% tariff. Okay, that's when you should have known that he's clearly lost it.
Think the United States needs Canada. Interesting too, Ali, that Alcoa, which is an American company but has aluminum smelters in Canada, has said that as a result of the tariffs, they may take all that aluminum that they're making in Canada that originally came to the United States and sell it elsewhere in the world where there are no tariffs. So what we're looking at here is not just a price disruption, but a supply disruption as well.
Right, which we just saw a little bit of during COVID, and it caused prices to spike.
Absolutely. And that's just one small area.
Right.
We provide 60% of the nickel that the Department of Defense uses for the security of the United States. So I would just submit that maybe, the briefers in the White House might want to do a little bit more work to find out exactly what it is that the United States takes from Canada, buys from Canada, and similarly what we buy from the United States. Look, this is a trading relationship that is over $1 trillion a year. That is $2.5 billion every single day. And it's been like that for a very, very long time. It is the most dynamic economic relationship in the world, bar none. Why do we want to fool around with that?
The irony is that for all the criticisms Donald Trump has about the Canada-U.S. trade agreement, the current one, he's the other side of it. He was there. He negotiated. He was the one who said, I don't really like NAFTA, so we're going to make this new deal, which he made.
Not only did he make it, Ali, but the USMCA, as it's now called, was brought onto the world stage by the president in his first administration and called the best trade deal that the world has ever seen, and his signature was on it. Now suddenly he's got a problem with it. I could go on, list after list after list of things that we hear and we go, well, wait a minute, that needs to be corrected. Dairy, for example, is a big concern. We buy 3 times more dairy from the United States than the United States buys from us. Dairy, American dairy products coming into Canada, completely tariff-free because there's a ceiling. After that ceiling, you pay tariffs. U.S. producers have never even reached that ceiling.
Right.
So we don't understand why this is even being brought up. I mean, as I said, we've got a tariff-free agreement for 99% of the stuff that goes back and forth between the countries. That keeps prices low for Americans. It keeps prices low for Canadians. It means that we can do more, we can build more, we can become more prosperous. The moment you start throwing in tariffs, not only do you have a trade issue, but then you've got an issue between the countries, and in our case, an existential threat.
Right.
We don't need to be liberated by a foreign power. We don't need to be subjugated by a foreign power. We kind of like our freedom. We are the true north, strong and free. That's the underlying.
Let's talk about the global implications of this. Prior to this trade war, prior to the election of Donald Trump, it looked like there was a popular, almost insurgent populist movement, similar to what we've seen in a lot of Western countries and the United States. What's happened now that Canadians don't seem to want that as much?
I think, and my job down here, we're in New York. This is where I work as well. And I tend to look more at American politics than I do at Canadian politics these days. But I do think that what's happening in Canada is that there is now just one issue. And that one issue is Donald Trump.
Right.
That's it. And I think that the other domestic issues, which Canadians are divided about and debating about, and so on, have taken second seat to that. And I think that we're at this weird moment in our history where we're really saying we might have to not physically fight, but make sacrifices to defend this country.
The fissures with Canada speak to the fissures with NATO and the fissures around the defense of Ukraine. The rest of the world is sort of coalescing. Keir Starmer in Great Britain is sort of trying to develop what looks like an alternative to NATO. Where does Canada stand on these things?
Well, what we've had to do to defend ourselves is look for new markets, new alliances. Where are we fitting in the world? And as the tectonic plates are moving, we've had to look to older friends and older alliances and say, what can we do there? So absolutely, we're looking at Europe. Prime Minister Carney's first overseas trip, or first trip, is not to the United States, it's to Europe.
Yeah.
And I think that shows how Canada, at all levels in Canada, we're looking at how do we source other stuff? Who do we trade with? Who do we trust? And I think that's in turmoil right now.
Not a conversation that in all the years we've known each other, we would typically have to discuss.
No.
Okay, so there you have it. And here's the thing. It's interesting Trump's doing all of this, and then Lutnick hasn't said one word against Trump. In fact, he says that Trump's policies are worth it, even if they lead to a recession. Okay, that's what he says. Even if they lead to a recession, it's all going to be worth it. Please pay attention. Now, I don't know if you all have heard about Trump's latest tax proposal. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second. But the bottom line is Trump is trying to take over these countries. He's trying to make people just bend to his will. He's out here making threats, talking about he's going to put tariffs on people, imposing tariffs and all this. And it's all going to hurt the consumers, which is us. Okay, this is all going to be bad on us at the end of the day. And now Canada doesn't want to support the U.S. because of Trump's foolishness. So let's talk about it, because Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick defended President Trump's economic policies on Tuesday, saying that they're worth it even if they lead to a recession, saying these policies are the most important thing America's ever had. Okay, but he quickly added, saying the only reason there could possibly be a recession is because the Biden nonsense that we had to live with. These policies produce revenues, they produce growth, they produce factories being built here. Mr. Trump, in a recent interview with Fox, declined to rule out that his policies, including increasing the tariffs, could cause a recession. Saying, I hate to predict things like that, Mr. Trump. This is what he told Fox News. I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition, because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time, but I think it should be great for us. Okay, Mr. Trump's tariffs announcements on Canada, Mexico, and China have rocked the stock markets and fueled concerns of an economic downturn. Canada received some welcome news after Lutnick told CBS that the U.S. no longer plans to double tariffs against its neighbor or northern neighbor on aluminum and steel. Now, asked whether the president plans to proceed with 50% tariffs, Lutnick said, no, that's off too. So we're at 25% for steel and aluminum because that's where we were. The 1 or 2 day tariffs that are ultimately withdrawn have their purpose, he argued. When you're negotiating with someone and they're not paying attention and they're disagreeing, the president, who's the best deal maker ever to sit in the chair, he's going to say, here's my response. And then all of a sudden, shockingly, they respond. Lutnick said the markets will learn to adjust to Trump's negotiation tactics. That's what he said. And they're going to have to learn to adjust to Trump's negotiation tactics. What does Trump think America is? What does he think he's doing here? Okay, Claudette says, wealth to who? Exactly. Okay, I mean, Trump thinks this is the art of the deal, I guess. I guess he thinks this is the art of the deal. But now listen to the tax proposal. Trump's latest tax proposal: no taxes for those earning less than $150,000. Well, that sounds good, right? So if you make less than $150,000 per year, President Donald Trump wants to abolish your taxes. Okay, so this is according to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He says, I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. That's what I'm working for. Lutnick also mentioned Trump's plans to eliminate taxes on tips, overtime pay, and Social Security. On other tax proposals that Trump floated in 2024 and earlier this year include creating a tax deduction for interest payments or interest payments on car loans, and increasing or easing the income tax rules that expatriate Americans must follow. So Trump has also talked about eliminating the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS, in favor of an external revenue service to collect money from foreign sources. And since taking office in January, he's hit some of the U.S.'s biggest trading partners with a slew of tariffs. But specific details for many of Trump's tax proposals are far and few in between. That's because Trump's not going to do any darn thing. Do you really think Trump's, first of all, going to get rid of the IRS? Do you think that Trump is going to have people who make less than $150,000 not pay taxes at all? That's not going to happen. This is just something Trump is saying to pacify people. Okay. Ronnie Q says Lutnick is lying. This is not in that bill. Yes, he's absolutely lying. I absolutely believe it. I absolutely believe it. Edward said America is the biggest consumer in the world. How about collecting money from the rich? Tariffs only make us pay more. Exactly. Okay. Increase the taxes on the wealthy. That's what he should be doing, as far as I'm concerned. And then they had a DOGE hearing. Now, I'm just wondering when each come out with the proof of all this stuff that they claim they found. When are they going to be transparent and bring out the receipts? Okay, because that's what I'm still waiting on. Now, they had a DOGE Senate hearing earlier on yesterday. And hold on, let me pull this up. Yeah, let's go to this and see what they were talking about. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Because Trump's got us in a whirlwind at the end of the day. A CEO can say they make any amounts. Trump is working for money changers. He just got BlackRock a part of Panama Canal, just like he wants Ukraine minerals for these same big businesses. Sarah says the rich never pay their share of taxes. No, they don't. They absolutely don't. Let's go to this DOGE hearing.
To get their rightful questions asked about their earned benefit. This is not an entitlement. Do you think this is helping make government more efficient? And why wouldn't we have the person, the mastermind, the genius, Elon Musk, who's come up with this proposal to come before this committee? Or at least respond based on the list of questions that are called for in this query. I have 140,000 individuals in my district who depend on Social Security. The majority of them, it's their sole source of income. 108,000 are retirees. 16,500 are disabled workers who count on these benefits. And yeah, I'll bang on the damn dais because I'm here to defend my constituents from Elon Musk, Donald Trump, or House Republicans who will try to take away what they have invested into their own Social Security. This is money they earned. Take your hands off of the people's Social Security. It's not yours. And Elon Musk wasn't elected to do a damn thing. I yield back.
Okay, absolutely. There's no lies to tax, and that's exactly what I have been telling you all. Okay, they're acting like they're doing us a favor. This is our money that they took out of our damn checks. Okay, and then here's the thing. Trump is absolutely sending the economy in the wrong direction. Okay, that's what he's doing. And don't forget that Elon Musk said a few months ago that, you know, people are going to suffer for a minute, but it's going to be worth it. This is what they promised us. And what if it isn't worth it, which likely it won't be? Okay. His administration is basically, you know, just sending us into a period of slower growth at higher inflation. And then in the past few weeks, the administration has enacted these steep tariffs on a wide range of imports, okay, with America's top trading partners. All right. And then threatening people laid off tens of thousands of federal government workers, frozen payments, okay, already has appropriated, all that have already been appropriated by Congress. This is what Trump's been doing. And y'all don't think he's lost his damn mind, but let's keep listening.
Mr. LaHood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This conversation today would be much different if we were $36 trillion in surplus, but we're not. We're $36 trillion in debt. And to think that we can't have a conversation about looking at our debt and deficit and economic policy different is political malpractice. It's government malpractice. Not to have a conversation about DOGE, not to have a conversation about cutting spending, not by having a conversation about the fiscal health of our country. And it's interesting, I also serve on our House Intelligence Committee. And last year we had General Petraeus and General McChrystal, served under Republicans and Democrats, have unbelievable reputations for serving in our military. And they came and talked to us about the threats facing America from our adversaries. So they talked about China and they talked about Russia, they talked about Iran, but they said the biggest threat is our debt and our deficit. And as most of us should know, we're paying more now on our interest than we do the entire Department of Defense. Think about that for a second. It's insane. But yet we can't have a conversation with a new president that ran on fixing the fiscal health of this country, created the DOGE committee, Department on Government Efficiency. Again, it's political malpractice that we're not thinking about this. I want to reference an article from it was an editorial in the Wall Street Journal dated February 25th of this year titled "America's Future Depends on DOGE." I want to read one section of that. The message from today's civic elites is that the president's job is to pretend to be in charge while doing nothing meaningful. Shut up. Don't disturb the administrative state. Let it keep doing its thing without oversight or disruption. And you'll get your library or best-selling presidential memoir. Mr. Trump refuses this deal. In his second term, he's determined to slay the bureaucratic beast. He knows all too well from his first term and the Biden years. DOGE's efforts are epic, breaking more than a century of acquiescence to spending and government. The Trump team is courageously confronting the problem head on. We have an obligation and responsibility to bring down our debt and get this country back on track economically. And the DOGE Commission and what President Trump and his team are doing is putting us on that path. I yield back.
Ms. Plaskett.
Mr. Chair, I move to strike the last word.
Ladies recognized.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You know, my colleagues today we've all been talking about accountability. And I think that this resolution speaks to accountability because many of us believe that the Trump administration is taking a wrecking ball to Social Security Administration. And they don't want to meet with us about that. Far from making the agency more efficient, the Trump administration is undermining its ability to serve the public. And the primary question is why? Why is this happening? Why is privatization the goal? Why are they trying to destroy Social Security? Many of us believe it's the first step of a longstanding effort by Republicans to dismantle trust in Social Security, slash benefits, and then allow people who are disgruntled and have lost faith in it to allow Wall Street to take it over. The Trump administration wants to close Social Security offices, slash agencies' workforce. The Social Security Administration is already at a 50-year staffing low due to years of underfunding. And with baby boomers increasing the number of beneficiaries, that's a recipe for disaster. How will gutting the workforce help Social Security Administration serve the American people? The point is, it does not. That's the goal. It does not. The chaos and the confusion, the constant stream of misinformation and missteps have a purpose. Let's talk about that. The misinformation, a Ponzi scheme. Listen, I'm a New Yorker. I understand a Ponzi scheme. A con man promises a payout that he can't deliver, collects the money, and disappears. That's not what's happening in the Social Security Administration, because people have put their money in it and they are receiving a benefit. That's not a Ponzi scheme. Repeatedly stating that dead people and 150-year-olds are receiving checks, every newspaper, every group has said that that's untrue, including the Washington Post, which has already kissed the ring of the president. They're the ones also who have said that that's not true. How are we doing this? And why are we doing this? We want to bring back accountability. My colleague has stated that DOGE only has read-only access. We seen weeks ago that that's not true. Oh, they just accidentally were able to make changes to it, they told us later on, and now they've gone back to read-only access. As a lawyer, the notion that they can be prosecuted for improper disclosure, that's if you find that they've had improper disclosure, first of all, and second of all, if they keep the information for themselves for data mining, for future elections, we would never be able to find that out to be able to prosecute it, because it's not disclosed to anyone but themselves. Why are they keeping this information, and what is the purpose of it? Make no mistake, the Trump administration's actions are to devastate the Social Security Administration's ability to serve the public and deliver Social Security payments so that they can then have access to $2.7 trillion for Wall Street to be able to play with. They need more money because you know what? We're not addicted to spending, as my colleague said. Many people are addicted to greed. That's what this is about. And the greed happens to be not from themselves, but for the American people. That's the Ponzi scheme, is them taking your damn money and using it for them own self, to enrich themselves more than they already have. That's the addiction. And you know what? This place is broken because Congress has abdicated its responsibility to be the ones to find that race fraud and abuse and to do something different about it. We're letting somebody who's unelected, who's an auditor, now he's an auditor. Is he everything? Is he God? To be able to do what he wants to do with the American people. It's got to stop. I yield back.
Any further members wish to strike the last word? Mr. Swazi.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out some basic facts that people need to understand. Jody, this is important. In the 1970s, we had about 203 million people in America. Today, we have 350 million people in America. In the 1970s, we had about 3 million federal employees. In the 1980s, we had 3.3 million federal employees. In the 1990s,
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. But listen, here's the thing. Trump has said, you know, that they would protect Social Security, that they would not touch Social Security at the end of the day, but you can't believe anything that Trump says. And then let's not forget that in 2020, they were talking about how Trump had a plan to defund Social Security. Okay, do you all remember that? Do you all remember that? How in 2020 they were saying that Trump had a plan to defund Social Security? Hold on, let's go to it. Y'all remember that? So at the end of the day, and then Elon's talking about he wants to get rid of it, and doesn't Trump do just about whatever Elon asks or tells him to do? So who knows? Like, you can't believe these politicians. Let me just go back for a moment in time to 2020, when this is what was reported. On August the 8th, at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, President Donald Trump announced that his administration is seeking to delay much of the payroll tax that funds Social Security, one of 4 unilateral actions he took in lieu of negotiating with Congress on meaningful economic relief legislation. The president also said that if he is reelected, he wants not only to turn the delay into a tax cut that would result in significant revenue losses for Social Security, but also to eliminate employee payroll taxes for good. As our analysis based on the Social Security trustees' projection shows, eliminating employee payroll taxes along the lines that the president has proposed would absent additional action, completely exhaust the Social Security Trust Fund by the year 2026 or earlier and result in steep benefit cuts. Okay. Social Security is funded by a 6.2% payroll tax paid by both employees and employers. This payroll tax goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. According to the trustees' latest projections, the trust fund ensures that Social Security beneficiaries can count on all of their promised benefits until 2035, giving Congress enough time to address Social Security's longer-term financial shortfalls. Currently, 65 million Americans or people receive Social Security benefits, including retirees, people with disabilities, widows and widowers, and surviving spouses and children of workers. Most seniors and disabled workers beneficiaries rely on Social Security for a majority of their income. As the pandemic continues to enact a toll on Americans' health and financial security, Social Security's guaranteed income is all the more important. Okay, that was in 2020, and it still is all the more important today. Okay, it still is all the more important today. Nene says Elon wants the U.S. to look like apartheid South Africa. I mean, that's what it looks like, beloved. Okay, that's what it's looking like. Okay, Chief Jones said, what's the worth? I have questions. I have questions too. I sure do. Would that mean all would be responsible for their own retirement fund? Honey, what it means is everybody that's on Social Security or who needs Medicare services is going to be struggling and having to worry about their health. Ronnie IQ says they want to privatize Social Security like they did Medicare and Medicare Advantage. Now we see how Medicare Advantage is denying care to make profits for the CEOs and shareholders. Yeah. Marcus says, can we as individuals sue for our Social Security benefits before they sack it? Listen, you better be doing something. You better be doing something. I mean, because this is all just crazy to me. Like I said, this is all crazy. He's got a whole bunch going on, pissing off people that are supposed to be allies, countries that are supposed to be allies, you know, wanting to mess with people's benefits. Now, this is what Elon was saying. Trump has said that, like I told you, Trump has said that he'll protect Social Security, but how can we trust anything that Trump says? Okay, how can we trust what Trump has said? I just don't think that we can. TC Dan said, reach out to your representatives and senators. Exactly. Nene said, they're pushing us toward universal income. So anyway, honey, this is all just a hot mess that they've gotten us in. Okay, just a whole hot mess. And then we're going to be having all of these high prices, not just on eggs, on everything's going to be going up because Trump's administration's tariffs on Mexico and Canada, well, they're expected to put upward pressure on prices and creating more inflation. And the 25% taxes on goods coming from the United States' biggest trade partners will raise costs for American businesses as well as households. Production costs will rise as firms pay more for energy, agricultural products, and intermediate goods such as car parts and things of that nature. And then American consumers pay for higher tariffs. Okay, not the foreign countries like Trump wants us to think. Because that's what he keeps saying. Oh, they're going to pay. They've been getting over on us. The ones that are going to pay are us. Okay, and I told you all that months ago. The ones that are going to pay are us at the end of the day. So get ready for it. Okay, everybody make sure that you're getting your non-perishable food items and all of those things ready, following your lifelines. Okay, DJ Big Six says gas is down to $2.39 per gallon in South Carolina. I wish it was here, honey. All right, I can't say the same. They always want people to believe the lie that Social Security is insolvent. Yeah, that's exactly what they want us to do. Meanwhile, they didn't have a problem giving it to people who weren't even supposed to get it, who were here illegally. Okay, make that make sense. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Everyone, please like and share, subscribe to the channels if you haven't heard If you haven't done so already, be sure to double check and make sure that you're still subscribed. Okay, especially if you have not been receiving those notifications. And, you know, Chuck Schumer has really pissed the Democrats off. There's a lot of infighting going on from the looks of it. Hakeem Jeffries is pissed. Nancy Pelosi called him out on his BS. I couldn't believe she went in on him. That was interesting. But, you know, it seems like he just caved to Trump's demands, and now he's trying to make allowances for it. He's trying to justify his own foolishness by fear-mongering us. That's what he's doing. So anyway, that all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this day. Each one teach one. That's how we're going to thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got